Hey, this is Paulo, and this is Mind Your Own Business. All right, so thank you very much, everybody. I have Joshua Rockwell here with me. Great guy. He's like, if you want to do consulting, especially for manufacturing, but for anything throughout the process of any company, he's the person to go to for real. But on top of that, he's a great guy. Very lucky to have him today with us. Josh, how are you today?
Thank you, Pablo. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for asking. So, to kickstart the conversation, I wanted to ask, who do you help? Or do you have a why? I mean, that's even better.
Okay, so the people that I help are typically like medium and large businesses. I focus on the industrial space. That's where I spent most of my time. But I've started to expand into other types of businesses, healthcare, software, many different business verticals. The why, I spent the beginning of my career working in sales, engineering, and management, and I realized that the engineering part, the solving problems and capitalizing on opportunities, was what I was most passionate about, and I felt like I could contribute the most going after those things. And so to strip away kind of the daily responsibilities of a regular, sort of quote unquote, regular salary job was more appealing to me and fit my passion more. So it also allows me to the freedom to go into a lot of different places and spread the gospel of good culture. That's something that's like the ultimate passion of mine, and being able to get around to a lot of different places, work with different people, allows me to kind of do that more.
Right. Perfect. And I have a question about motivation. What led you to the creation of your business, or in other words, did you have a rude awakening?
Yeah. So a rude awakening that I had was actually in the third like color wheel personality type training course that I took for an accelerated management course. And I had done it twice before, and they show you do a bunch of questions, a survey, and it gives you back all of these characteristics that you have, and it classifies you as a certain personality type, which I had already knew, and I knew all these strengths that I had. But this particular course went into the weaknesses and how you interact with, not only how you can and should interact with different personality types, but what can go wrong when you interact with those personality types, especially under stress. And I had gotten some reviews in jobs, previous jobs, where I'd hear, I'd see arrogant, pushy, some other negative traits that I said, how could this possibly be? I'm like the nicest guy, I'm so understanding, and these were like the exact opposite of that. And the rude awakening was thinking back and actually being objective about it. Under stress in really hard times, I could get like that. You lean too hard on your strengths, and they end up becoming weaknesses, and they can really drive away other personality types. So that was kind of rude awakening for me. But as far as starting my business, I guess the rude awakening was there's challenging people all over the place, and I had encountered a few and wanted the freedom and flexibility to not be stuck into a salary job where maybe I was having to work with a very difficult personality that I couldn't figure out, and that was tough, being in those situations, and it didn't allow me to go after my passions of problem solving and working in culture. So that made me realize I'm probably only going to be able to accomplish those things if I go out on my own.
Right. And today, nowadays, everybody's dream is to escape that, that being stuck in that situation of I have no flexibility, I have no control over my life, so I want to do things on my own. Maybe they don't have to be that big, but they're mine, right? So
Sure.
and you do consulting, so that's exactly what you do. And I'm curious, what would you say to a person who's thinking about that, jumping into the pool and saying, hey, yeah, I have what it takes. I think I have what it takes, and I want to start my own thing. What would be your first piece of advice to them, to us?
Uh, I would say make sure that you have enough experience. It's something that I think gives you a lot of credibility to come out on your own by having a lot of good experience to back that up. Get feedback from your peers, your network, your group, to make sure that if you believe you have enough experience, that other people think you do too. But take that advice carefully. Listen to the details of what they're saying, and if they disagree, listen to what they're saying about why maybe you don't, and then evaluate that for yourself and see how it fits. If it's something that really should be holding you back, and maybe you should get some more experience, or if it's something that maybe you can overcome with some time, and you should jump into that endeavor anyway.
I'm curious. So what I'm hearing you say is that you actually need some way or some sense of introspection. It's not always all everything is out there, right? So you need to have some, I don't know how to say, but self reflection. I would call, in order for you to understand that you might be pushy. Maybe you're annoying for someone, and that you didn't realize that. So that feedback and being honest with yourself, I think it's key. And there's a follow-up question to this, and that's
Sure.
about the mindset. So you need to have, is there a good mindset you need to have to start your own business, or to even like start to be real with yourself, your own goals, what you want to achieve, or to get out of this life. Uh, but yeah, I mean, is there a specific mindset you need to have?
I think critical thinking and open-mindedness are two extremely important ones. If you're starting a company, people are coming to you as the expert in whatever you're doing, whatever field you're covering. So you need to have not all the answers, but a lot of answers. And you've got to be humble enough to say I don't know, or some other polite phrase of that's a great question. I'll get back to you on that one. And that comes with experience.
Hmm.
The open-mindedness, you're going to be constantly learning. I believe a good person in general, whether it's at home, in a relationship, at work, is going to be constantly learning and going through a continuous improvement process their whole life on themselves. And so if I'm expecting my clients to be open-minded and critical thinkers and understanding of change, they need to do something different, that maybe they're fearful of for some reason, or have big concerns about, I need to be able to be open to
Right.
those kind of things myself.
Right.
So the old practice what you preach thing. The more you can do it yourself, the more people will see that in you and be open to doing it themselves. So leading by example.
That's great. That's powerful and very true. And what about maybe some skills that you see, like, yeah, across the board, this is what you need to have. Maybe soft skills, I don't know, sales, or just make great questions. I don't know. What kind of skill set do you recommend people to improve on?
So yeah, that's a good question for any kind of consulting, any kind of job, any kind of situation. And the same things apply. Open-mindedness, critical thinking, being a good listener,
Mm,
which doesn't mean stay quiet until it's your turn to talk. It means actually
right,
taking
right,
in
right.
what people have to say, and not just holding on to your response that you've got or the thing you want to say next. Be really present and hear what people have to say. And one of the things that I've found that I haven't always been consistent with, but when I think of it and start doing it, I see the value of it again, is note taking. That allows you to maintain your thoughts, get them down on paper or digital, whatever you're using, and have that set aside for now so that you can be present and continue to focus on what that other person or group of people is saying to you. And then when it is your turn to respond, you've got all those things there. You're not spending your time focusing on maintaining that thought and keeping it in front of your mind. You're actually able to set it aside to focus on what's being said, so you can think about that and maybe change what you're going to say or the question you're going to ask.
Well, that's a great hack, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the people that I've admired the most are a lot of times they're sort of the quiet type, but not always. And the thing that I saw that was consistent within them was they were really good listeners, and if and when they spoke, they had profound things to say. They didn't just fill the space with noise.
And so I read somewhere that actually today the span of attention of a person is that of 7 seconds. So after 7 seconds, you're gone, basically.
Yeah.
You're thinking you're somewhere else. So that ability, that skill of being present with the person, let's say you're selling something and you got lost in your next meeting or something, you lost the sale, right? Or you're in consulting, or you're consulting someone, or with your spouse, with your kid, I don't know. Like, you can get so lost, but if you get that attention back into the present moment, I think that's powerful, and that comes with what you're saying about having an open mind, being present and note taking, and any way you can use and leverage to just be there and take advantage of it.
Right, exactly.
So that's a great piece of advice. And talking about piece of advice, what would be the worst recommendation that you hear in your profession? Something that you said, I can't believe this guy just said that. He's so wrong.
Well, I've heard plenty of people be technically wrong about things over the years. But I think one of the ones that makes me cringe is like wait and see. You're just, as far as I'm concerned, at least in most situations, you're just wasting time. If you're analyzing and looking at data and you're not sure, like you really have no clue what to do, not wait and see, but like, let's analyze this. That would be a better response to that. The wait and see response typically, in my mind, is the thing that comes into my brain is that this person doesn't have the skills or knowledge to make an effective decision. So, okay, I go into question mode. Why? Why do you want to wait and see? And maybe you've got to have a discussion offline, not in front of the group, because people don't like to be called out in front of other people, or even at all, one-on-one, for not knowing, not having the answers. And so you got to be careful with that. I've seen a lot of no to decision making or choices comes from lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, and fear of making the wrong choice, fear of the unknown. When we change this, like, I know how to deal with things the way they are now, but if we change them, I'm not going to know how to respond in that environment. So to me, it's a teaching opportunity and a learning opportunity for me to find out what's behind that no, and to educate and take a step back instead of pushing. Start pulling. Like, what's the hold up here? What's the concern?
And so I'm curious to know, maybe, because I can relate this to fail, right? To when you get rejection, or you get shut down, or you hear a no, immediately, I don't know why, your brain kind of goes like, all right, I'm out, or this is a failure, or this is bad, right? Instead of reading actually the data that you're being given, and just learn from it. There's information there. In that no, it follows up to a question. In that
Absolutely.
rejection, there's something out there. So there's a follow-up question again here. What
Yeah.
would be your favorite failure? Something, maybe a story that you can share, or I don't know, something that happened that actually, at the moment, you felt super bad, but that with time you said like this was the greatest teacher ever.
Um, hmm. Failure sucks.
Yeah,
Failure
it
sucks.
does. I mean, it does.
So what you described is like a perfectly legitimate human reaction, right? I mean, it always feels bad initially. Um, then the question is like, what do you do with that? So I'm not going to sit here and say, don't feel bad. Don't let that feeling sink in. Like, take it. But then do something with it. And I've always been able to turn that into motivation. Like you said, like we talked, both kind of alluded to, like it's an opportunity to learn, ask questions, figure out what went wrong, so that you don't do it again next time. That's the whole like 4-step problem solving process. It's figure out where you want to be, where you're at, that gap, figure out why the gap is there, why it happened, figure out your countermeasures to close that gap, and hopefully you end up with a happy ending. So, and then the next time you get into that kind of situation, because you've taken the initiative to get over that crummy feeling quickly and move forward and learn and adapt, the next time you encounter it, it's going to be a lot easier, and you probably have better results.
And that.
So an example, an example would probably be like at work, but on a personal level, and kind of the thing that I mentioned earlier is when times get tough. My second company that I was with, my technician came in one day and we were just absolutely slammed with work for months. We were down a couple of people, and some things were going wrong, and it was just go, just keep plowing away. And he came in one day and dropped some stuff off, and then just immediately left. And I said hi, but he didn't say anything back to me. And it was not like him at all. We were both very similar, like really positive people, and always smiling, laughing, and having a good time. So I knew something was wrong. I went and chased him down, and it's like, hey, what's wrong? Something's not right. Like that response just didn't seem like you. What's going on? No, it's fine, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. Like something's definitely wrong. And it seemed like maybe it's me. So I don't want that to be, I don't want tension to be here. Like I don't like that. So what did I do? And he's like, and the whole time he's just kind of looking down, and he finally looked up at me and he said, you're no fun anymore. And I was just like, okay, what does that mean? Like, wow. And he said, all we do is just work. You don't even say hi to me anymore. You don't ask me how my day or weekend was. It's just straight to work. He's like, you're not a jerk, but you're just all business and it's no fun anymore. And I was like, wow. Thank you for pointing that out to me. And I'm really, in my head, I was like, I'm really glad I came out here and confronted this, because it was uncomfortable. Like, it's one of those uncomfortable situations you just don't want to deal with, so you ignore it. But if I had ignored that, it probably would have just eventually destroyed our relationship. And it was an enormous learning opportunity for me. And I've done it a few times since, but because of that situation happening, I've been able to recognize it quickly and turn the situation around, oftentimes before anyone even says anything or I have to say something about it. I'll just sort of call it out myself or just correct it. And that's worked really well. And it's just another one of those times in your life where it's like, I'm really glad I did that, even though it's really uncomfortable. So failure in like handling relationship or handling stress, but it turned out to be a really good learning opportunity, and we still are very good friends, 15, 16 years later, and have a great relationship. So,
Well, That was powerful, Josh. Thank you for sharing. And so I'm curious, how do you bounce back from these failures? Like, all right, so being upfront, being honest,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
like with yourself and with people around you. And I'm talking about not only business failure, but also like personal and whatever it is. How do you come back from it? Because yeah, you said so yourself, and we all know. So we face rejection. It sucks, but then
yeah.
we know we will that will happen again in the future many times.
Right,
So
right.
what kind of tools can we use? I've seen online, maybe working out, having a nurturing relationship. Yeah, those things we know,
Yeah,
but still, there's that sense, that feeling of unease when it comes to being down, and then how to pick yourself up.
yeah, yeah. That's a good question. And what I would say to that is that failure is a skill that needs to be developed,
Mm,
and that whole process of failing and coming back is a process. It is a skill. Some people are naturally better at it than others, but it's a skill that we can all work on and develop and get better at. Uh, I tend to, and maybe this isn't the healthiest way to deal with it, but like I just throw myself into these situations.
mm,
The tougher the challenge and situation is, the deeper I throw myself. The more time, the more effort, above and beyond that I will commit to this. To the point where sometimes it's just all of my time, all of my waking time, and all of my effort, and it's all I think about. And it allows you to sort of block out everything else, even the doubt and um, the overthinking about the failure
mm,
and beating yourself up. If you throw yourself back into the work and fixing the situation, it doesn't allow your focus on that and moving forward and coming up with the solution and fixing it doesn't allow those thoughts, those negative thoughts, to creep in as much. If you stay focused and refocus on the task at hand and fixing it, you're able to block out the negative stuff. And once you finally get to the end and have fixed it or come up with the solution and you've achieved victory in that situation, it feels great. And then it makes the negativity less painful. You sort of go through and look at it, and that stinks that I did it that way, or didn't see something or whatever, but it allows you to see that you can overcome it. And that doing that is what's developing that skill. And if you don't do it,
mm.
you'll probably see the opposite, where it sort of drags on, it doesn't resolve itself, you overthink a lot, and so you don't dig yourself out of that hole, you almost sort of dig yourself deeper. But if you can stay focused on just moving ahead and staying away from the emotion of it,
Right.
it's helped me get through things faster and see that things aren't so bad.
And so that reminded me of a book called Men's Search for a Meeting. I mean, a Meaning. I'm sorry, Men's Search for a
Okay.
Meeting. That would be a sales book, someone booking meetings. But Men's Search for a Meaning, it's by Viktor Frankl, and he developed this practice called logotherapy. Basically, it's just what you said. I mean, don't focus in the emotion aspect, or like, yeah, I mean, though it's important, but if you focus in the task at hand, if in actually the meaning of it, in having a big purpose. We see this in religions, everywhere. Like when there's a big goal and a big bone, then you get all excited and you focus entirely, and these things come at in second place. Like, yep.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it kind of from a leadership standpoint, when things go wrong, good leaders, they don't dwell on the negativity. They focus on getting everyone else focused on, okay, there's nothing we can do about how we got here, but we are completely in control of how we get out of the situation.
Exactly.
And making sure everybody's focus goes in that direction. And like I said before, you can be a leader in your job, your life, or relationships. It's all the same. It's just applied a little bit differently. The same general things apply.
Right, and so on that same note, what book or seminar or what kind of piece of advice someone gave you that really, it really stuck with you your whole life?
Yeah, so two things. The first was not necessarily one that stuck with me, but like I came across this book a few years ago, and it really encompasses how I look at things. It's called Everybody Matters by Bob Chapman, and it's a very positive, enabling approach to leadership, which I truly believe in, and it's how I've run my entire career. Through direct leadership or indirect leadership, enabling people and empowering them has, in my experience, 100% of the time worked extremely well. And if you don't do that, you get the opposite results.
Like
the other thing is, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say like people matter, being like everybody's equal. No, let's not discriminate no one, and just that.
Exactly.
Or okay.
Yeah. So
respect.
It doesn't matter what level you are in the company. The owner or CEO, president, all the way down to the janitor, everybody's the same. Everybody can contribute equally. Everybody's as valuable as everyone else, and to trust people. So, and the other one that I did learn from early on was the first day of my first class of college, Chemical Engineering 101. My professor, Dr. Farag, said, and it's been a while now, so I don't know if I'll directly quote, but basically he said, value the hourly employees. Don't forget about them. Bring them in on all your projects. Consult with them. Get their feedback. Get their input. They are the ones that are managing, operating the process day in and day out. They have all the experience. They may not have all the answers, but that's where we come in. We come in with the theory, and we can match it up with their experiences, and between the two, we can make great things happen. So don't get arrogant because you're the engineer. You have a lot to learn, and he was absolutely right.
Absolutely, and that correlates actually with the other thing you were saying, that from the book, like treating people with respect, regardless of background.
Exactly. The biggest chunks of gold I've ever found were from security guards, janitors, lunch staff, because they interact with pretty much everybody,
right.
And they overhear all kinds of things, and a lot of people treat them intentionally, unintentionally, like they're not even there sometimes, and so they hear conversations happen that not everybody's privy to, and if you have a good relationship with those people, they'll tip you out to that stuff. They'll help you out. They'll say, "Hey, I heard somebody talking about that." Many of my successes have come from those conversations and relationships.
That's great. I'm going to pivot the conversation just a bit. I wanted to ask about maybe what piece of advice would you give to yourself, to your 20-year-old self?
In one word, integrity. Having integrity, doing the right things for the right reasons, treating people the way you want to be treated, and my particular phrase, spin on that, is be the person you wish you were, be the person you wish you had in that situation. So in other words, like, be the friend you wish you had, be the boss you wish you had, etc. So we all have these ideals. We wish people were this way. And so I think we should just embody that. And when we're in a tough situation, what would our favorite teacher, boss, friend, parent do in this situation if they were perfect. That's my advice. Every time I've done that, things have gone really well for me. And if I've gotten off that path, there is certainly room for improvement in the results.
There you go. I mean, because yeah, you can correlate that with you can link that to the bottom line of a company. Like,
Absolutely.
there's no, this is not philosophy of any kind of some woo stuff. It actually, you can implement that in business, like in a real life scenario, like integrity.
Absolutely. I've been challenged many times on my philosophy of positivity and, rainbows and cupcakes. And people think that sometimes you got to take a hard line, and it's a good challenge. I would say through a couple hundred facilities and companies that I've been at now, and cultures, with consistency. People challenge. Okay, well, does good culture come from good results, or do good results come from good culture? And what I've seen time and time again is that good culture results in good results, good business results. So if you're open and doing the right things for the right reasons, not being greedy and selfish, you can get the whole pie if you're that way, but you can still get a big piece of a much bigger pie and end up with more pie. Even though maybe you don't get the whole pie, your chunk can still be bigger than getting the whole pie, doing it the below board way. And I've seen that with 100% consistency.
That's a powerful message, Josh. I mean, I do believe that it starts from within, but I don't have the data to support that by all means. Like I haven't seen that just as much as you, because I don't have your experience, of course, of hey, it all starts with integrity, open-mindedness, like everything we discussed, and then you can see that in your in the bottom line of a company. That's amazing.
Yeah, and there is a caveat to that. That I will say that's pretty important, because if you don't know the caveat, it can be discouraging when it doesn't work right away. It's that these things, having integrity and maintaining it, it's simple, but it's not easy. There are going to be situations and people that really challenge you to break away from that, or think that it's not worth it. And doubt will creep in, but I assure you, if you stick with it, it will work out in the end.
That's great. Thank you so much. And now, to wrap it up, I wanted to ask, where do we find you online? And then any final thoughts, comments?
Sure. I've got a website, rockwellprocessconsulting.com. I've got a YouTube channel as well, so you can search for Rockwell Process Consulting there. And I'll be building a list of more case studies from my experience. And final thoughts, stay positive.
There you go. Stay positive. Josh, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate your time, your expertise, and all the wisdom you're giving us today. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Pablo. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.